All right, now we're live. Good morning. Well, it's a good morning for me, but it's good afternoon for you. I was just we were just talking off air. You said you're out there doing turkey hunting out there in Georgia. This is why I like that place. It's just it's such a different. Everybody gets up here at 5 to go to the drive-through at Starbucks. You're up at crack of dawn going to see if we can shoot turkeys for the day. Not
Yeah,
not
yeah,
that
yeah,
place.
yeah. I got to keep protein in the family's belly.
That's right. And I tell everybody all the time when I go out there just how important like hunting season is for people out there because this is how they fill their refrigerators up. I mean, this is just so foreign for California thinking out here. You know what I mean? Because every time
Yeah,
you hear nothing but oh, the hunters or this or that, and I'm just every time I go out there, I'm like, man, this is such a way of life for them that you know and you don't really realize how much deer can overtake a land either
yeah.
if you don't control it.
Ruin the
You
whole
know what I mean?
ecosystem. You're right about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And I know that Carson has a lady that has kind of an island. I think she has, and he gets to go there all the time because they just overtake her land. So
Yeah.
that was good. So I'm looking forward, guys. So if you haven't met before, I've spoke to him in my school about him. Luckily, I got to meet you when I was out there. I think it's the first time you came into the school, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead, so I got to meet Ryan, and he is a combat veteran out of the Rangers, and I'll let you tell your little, your what rank you were and stuff like that, and your service, and introduce yourself even a little bit more than I can give you props for, and then we'll get going. I see you have his coffee. You're having coffee with me this morning too,
Yeah.
and I saw a woman's face on the cup. Now, who's who's the
Oh, I asked my wife for a cup of coffee before we started here. I think she's playing tricks on me at this
That's
point.
right. So it's funny because I have mine that says "Take him to the train station" from
Yeah.
from Yellowstone, and so I saw that today, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to get him on the on his little girl cup there today." So it was
Yeah.
good. It was good. So Ryan, so no further ado, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and let's talk a little bit about where you served. When you went in, married, and if you have children and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm starting first class Ryan Davis from 1st Ranger Battalion. My wife and I kind of took off and started this adventure in the Army about 10 years ago now, almost 11 years ago. And we've had a very enjoyable ride, minus one night. It was a pretty good career. We had a blast. We have an 8-year-old Knox who has spent his entire life. All he's known as being an Army kid, kind of an Army brat, bouncing around and having a good time with his friends. And uh, Dad's always kind of gone at work and coming back, so he's had an opportunity to get a perspective of it from that look. And now, as we transition back into being civilians, he'll have another chance to look at it. But we got married in 2012. That was in Columbus, Georgia. We actually went to the courthouse the day before Ranger School. Then we had a fake wedding the day after I graduated from RAS. Yeah, we were really putting a family together quick back then, but everything panned out really well. My wife's been like my strongest supporter, as well as like the rock at the house whenever I'm either deployed or back at the stage training on something. So. Kind of a
Well,
brief kind of glimpse of my story there.
so what rank did you get to? And let's talk about the you know, how old were you? Did you go in and out of high school or
Yeah,
not?
so I played baseball in college at the University of Texas in Arlington. And after that, I spent a little bit of time working around the civilian world and thought, okay, I think I want to make a bigger wave than this. I think I want to do something a little bit more for, uh, you know, overall making the world a better place. That was my first stop when I got out of college. That's what I wanted to do. And the way I wanted to do that was schwack bad guys. And I feel like that's a very admirable way to make the world a better place, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I followed
Mm-hmm.
my heart and desire to do that and ended up in the 75th Ranger Regiment, where you're just a professional bad guy schwacker. It's really, really a cool place, surrounded by a bunch of really awesome dudes that keep each other accountable every day.
Yeah, that's how I got introduced to the Ranger Regiment. And of course, Joe, and I got introduced because they had hired us to come in and work with the military. That's how we kind of all got to Joe. And I remember meeting Joe the first time. I was like, man, this guy is. I mean, he's all about a warrior, right? And I
Yeah.
remember meeting him and saying, I like hanging out with this type of caliber of people. It just kind of fit me well. And so getting to know you a little bit, I can see how that you're in that realm with them for sure, as far as it goes with the Rangers. You did now you and Joe, I think Joe's a little bit behind you, right? He was deployed after, so you guys didn't really serve.
Yeah, so we weren't like side to side. He was in the same lockers that I was in. He was just in there prior to me getting there.
Gotcha. So you're kind of the next generation up, because he's old and broken now.
He
You know what
is
I mean?
old and broken, and I tell him that every day, and I'm going to tell him that
That's
for
right.
both of us today.
That's good. You let him know that, and you tell him I said that too. I said all the fancy weight equipment doesn't make you young. He likes to always talking smack. Every time I come down there, he's always talking some kind of smack, to me, and I'm like, this, you know, he might be 40, but mileage. You know what I'm talking about. He's
Oh
been
yeah,
he's had it. So you went through Ranger School, and was there something in Ranger School that you kind of was it just kind of overall Ranger? Did you specialize in anything? Were you doing anything specialized in
Ranger
the unit?
School, in from the perspective that I was looking at as like a young soldier and a developed warrior who was going through Ranger School to get his Ranger tab, and was already in Ranger Regiment. I know there's a lot of Rangers floating around here, and I can clear that up. But Ranger School was for me to sharpen my leadership skills to come back to Ranger Regiment and lead men. So
Got
I, I,
it.
could,
Okay.
I could lead new guys without a Ranger tab, but once you start really leading dudes into combat and really starting to take on some of that huge, um, you know, competent like friction points of a mission, you're going to want to be seen with a Ranger tab and to be a leader in front of those guys. And that's where I really learned how to do that the best.
So did you have a group when you were deployed? Did you have a group with you then? Were you in charge of men at there, or were you? How did that go about?
Yeah, so each rank, as you kind of progress and on the line in the military, you kind of become in charge of a larger footprint of men and weapon systems and equipment and portions of a mission. And as you progress, unfortunately, you get a little further away from the guy pulling the trigger, which is kind of a bummer for all of us. But as a big picture, you have to be able to control all of these aspects on the battlefield, and you can't pull every trigger, unfortunately.
So where are you rank wise when you left? Are you above or the same as Joe?
I'm the same as Joe. He might even be one
Right.
higher than me just because he's old and decrepit, but I'm a sergeant first class right now.
I'm hoping, right? I'm like, man, I hope he outranks him so I can just even talk more smack. That's it.
Tell him he did it. It took him 21 years, and it only took me 11. So I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying I'm retired. Same rank.
That's all we need. That's all that we need to give it to him, because now he's never going to. He writes. He writes lots of laughs, slightly higher. And then he just gave you the middle finger.
I see this. I see this coming through, man. I'm glad he's tuned in right now.
Yeah. So, well, anytime that we can make fun of Joe, it's a good day.
Yeah, Joe's he's been a huge player for me in this entire recovery. Back here in Savannah, he's been a real player. Him and Carson both have been huge.
Yeah, we were there. I mean, it was awesome that I got to meet you there the first time that you kind of came in. We had heard that you're coming in, and we'll get into what happened to you here in a minute. But of course, we didn't make fun of you, because we said you look like a human pinata. But that's it. Joe doesn't have any feelings as far as things go, so he'll make fun of everybody and anybody.
Yeah, that's the
You know how
beauty
he
of him.
is. Yeah. So, yeah,
He's an
he's a good
equal
dude, man.
opportunity expert.
Yeah, he's Joe's been a good guy. He's probably been one of the best things that's come our way in a long time, and just to further our Krav and what he is as a black belt. He's a good dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
He does. Everybody he thinks he's all real tough, but have you seen him around his one daughter?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's a little. Yeah, he's milk toast,
he
bro.
he does he does he
Yeah,
melts a bit.
he's milk toast, bro. And so it's he tries to put on this hard exterior, but he's not really like that. So let's talk about what happened to you, because when we got to meet you, we had heard that you're coming in today, that there was a triple amputee that was coming in, and then when you came in, it was like, wow, you still had this warrior spirit. We'll dive into that, kind of your mindset of that, and then, but let's talk about the day that your life kind of changed. Let's see what that, so people can see what that looks like. And
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
going to talk about
absolutely.
what happened, how you, because I look back on, you can see that as a younger guy, you can see that, your life, and you look fit as all can be. You're still fit today, and in your life. And let's talk about the day that it all changed.
Yeah, absolutely. It was mid-August of 2019, and we were out doing our thing. And I would have bet my entire mortgage that I was going to be back at the fob and eating omelets within a couple of hours from the moment that I got blown up. Everything was going so well. We ran into a little bit of an issue with some guys hiding underground, and I grabbed some boom boom and took it over there to him. And on my way over there to him, I either triggered an IED or was hit with an RPG or enemy grenade of some kind. So it was kind of like a blink in the ISR footage, as well as like a tarp above. So it wasn't totally clear as far as what was on the other side of that wall that detonated. But as I was hit, pushed me to the left, knocked the breath out of me. I thought I was going to be able to get back up and get back in the fight, and my right leg just wouldn't move for me. It was just stuck down there for a while. I had some indigenous forces that were close by enough to kind of drag me back into the wadi. And then I had some of my ranger brethren show up really shortly after and do some pretty phenomenal things to keep me alive that night in the field. We went hose to hose. I know that sounds kind of crazy. We call it the Rolo program, but we stuck a hose in one person and then into me, and I got 2 pints of blood from 3 different people. So that kind of stuff doesn't happen every day out there on the battlefield, and happened the night that I got hurt. Am I thankful for it? Yes. So I hope nobody ever has to use it, but it's something that can save our lives in the future. So I'm glad something really good came from that injury. As the night progressed, the Taliban's kind of like sharks. They smell a little bit of something in the water, and they all start kind of lingering around, right? So they could tell something was going on, and they tried to bring a little hate fire down to the boys, and the boys stood their ground really well. I saw some super heroic things. If that was going to be my night to die from the litter looking up, I saw some of the guys that I helped raise and turn into good Rangers up to that point. So it would have been the coolest thing to have like gifted away that at any piece. But they were fighting for me, and they were fighting hard all night. 3 hours later, angels from the sky showed up. It's pulled in, guns blailing like a old Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and they got us loaded up and got us out of there. And we were back back in Savannah back in San Antonio in 3 days. So the turnaround and the amount of effort that the country took just for me getting hurt overseas was, I think, not just a tribute to myself or my unit or what I did when I was getting hurt, but it's a tribute to our country, to liberty, to people who care, to people who want that.
Right. I listen, 100% agree on that. It's it's quite a story to listen to you anyway, as far as that goes. Something that you live through that the majority of people just don't have a clue. the majority of people over here, talking shit and not really in the fight, like yourselves and Joe and you guys that are warriors. I've told you guys that before. I haven't chewed the same dirt as you guys. But my short police stuff is way different than what you guys really did, and so it's an honor, as a matter of fact, just to kind of be around you guys. As much as we like to cut up and stuff like that, the leadership and just the warriorship that came from it. And I've learned a lot, just teaching in there, watching Joe and watching how the Army has changed even in this short amount of time is just an amazing thing anyway, as far as that goes. So when this happened, so you went back to San Antonio. Now, when did your wife get word that this has happened?
So they kind of let her on a little bit slower than you and I would probably talk to each other or fill our wives in, just because of the transportation of a casualty can be kind of a risky situation, and nobody wants to say something that you shouldn't say before or preload that with any sort of extra stress, right? So they let Asia know that I was hurt and that we were kind of, not stable enough at the very moment to come back to San Antonio or Walter Reed, but we were working that piece. A couple days into that process, they had Asia at San Antonio waiting for me when I landed, and that's when she really could wrap her eyes around what was going on.
Yeah, that's quite. I'm sure that's quite a phone call, but it's amazing what Let's tell everybody the extent of the injuries. So where you're at today, so people have a better idea what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. When I got injured, my entire right femur was shattered. The right side of my pelvis, my hip joint. The only thing that was left in my pelvis really was the kind of tip of my sacrum and the pelvic region. That all kind of got saved. Everything else was pretty destroyed. I made it back to the States with it, but then it was amputated. So on the right side, I'm a hemipelvectomy, which means I have half of a pelvis. And on the left side, I'm a BK, which means I have an amputation below my knee on my left leg. On my right, I have one good hand, which people call me Handy these days. I think that's kind of funny. and then over here, I have an amputation just above my elbow. Yeah, so I am I'm thriving to walk hemipelvectomy, triple amputee. Pretty rare combination of injuries.
God spared the good stuff. So that's,
He did. He did. He spared the good stuff.
So
and he couldn't,
that's right.
They've been looking for TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, in me for over a year, and they can't find anything. And I told them before they started, I don't have the equipment for that. I'm not one of these like super smart guys with a mega brain. I'm like super strong guy with a lot of muscle around my little nugget of a brain. So I'm not overly concerned with that thing getting rattled.
Yeah, that's that. It's just it's amazing the story. When I talked to you there, the story of just how they medically what they've done for you has been amazing. You know what I mean? What they the surgeries and stuff that you've had to go through, and so let's where were you at, Ryan? Let's talk to everybody and tell them where you, because you've got this awesome attitude, but what was it like when you were laying there understanding what's about to come down and what you had to do? Did you have the attitude, well, this is just another fight and we're just gonna have to fight it out?
No, that's not how I started. I am like that. I know where you're going with that mindset, and I do snap into that pretty commonly these days. But in that sense, I was busted up, and to be honest with you, Mark, I was ready to finish myself, not in a selfish, dark way, but in a samurai way, if you will. Like, here's a wounded warrior, let's katana the belly and go on to the Valhalla or wherever we're headed, right?
Right.
So that was my mindset. I didn't want to be a burden to my family, and that was very heavy for me for a long time, and that's what put me in kind of a dark place for a while.
Right. And I think that's important because anybody that meets you right away, you're like, I think people get the wrong idea of like gosh, does a guy have any is he really human or is he not? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, no,
I
it's in
think
there.
that I think that that's a good, because I'm sure lying there, you have to be, there's things that you have to be real about, you know what I mean? So it is. And now, was your wife instrumental in changing your mindset?
Huge,
Yeah.
huge. She was really the only person you can, when something like that happens and you have those sort of thoughts bouncing around in your head, it's probably not a good idea just to be blurting them out to anybody who walks in the room.
Mhm.
Um, but Asia was a player for my mental stability through all of this the entire time. She was my ride or die. I was like, hey, listen, I don't want to do this. I tried to convince her to take the money and go. I tried to tell her that this was not something I would want for you. And I've struggled to find those words for a long time. Actually found them from a guy named Travis Mills, who he runs a shop up in the Northeast, and he's doing awesome stuff up there for vets and injured folks. And he is actually who I got that direction from. I needed to say, hey, babe, you didn't marry this. Like, I needed to let her go if she wanted to go. And I needed that sense of, I tried to free her if that was what it was going to take. And my wife's a very stubborn woman. She was not going anywhere at any given time, but I tried, man.
Well, those are the type of women that strong men, they push us forward for sure. You know what I mean? It's a testament to her too that I've already not getting to really talk to you in that thing. I had already felt that she's somebody that is probably the only person that could push you to that level, I would imagine, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. She didn't get the nickname Rattlesnake from being a softie, that's for sure.
So now, when you decided, now was there a flip script? Because so I tell people this story quite often. I think I told you before that I had double blood clots
Yeah.
in right, and I was told I wasn't supposed to live right through this thing. And this is from an injury that I just did a simple kick on a front kick to the pads, and it just something caused a clot, and then I was traveling back and forth. I think I told you that story, and I was teaching on the military base. I just wasn't feeling well. You know what I mean? And for 6 months, it was kind of like PTSD for me. And I'd lay in bed every time something kind of went wacky. I thought for sure I'm getting, there. I'm either going to get a stroke here, and I felt the same way. I got to the point where I'm just like, hey, just take me home, man. Don't give me some stroke. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but about 6 months into it, man, I had a flip script where I'm like, I'm not living like this anymore. So I'm just going to work on my health, and then I'm going to do this. Now, did you have things like that happen for yourself also?
Yeah, I did. I used to look out the window. That I had a kind of a tricky run. I know it sounds like you just get blown up, but there was a lot of like stuff in the way, kind of like blood clots. You know what I mean? A little bit of hiccup that came in after the injury, and I'm like, what is this? And one of them was where I had to be face down for roughly 3 months or so in the hospital. And in that moment, in that like, okay, take me. Exactly. That's what, like you were just saying, man, don't leave me around to be stroked out, or don't leave me around to be on my face, for the rest of my life. Like, come and get me. And I looked out the window and I saw a parking garage, and I was like, well, I'll just roll myself over that thing and dump myself off the side of it and let them have me, and be done with this stuff. And it was a distinctive moment when I heard my wife in the hallway lighting somebody up because, she didn't think that their measures, because they had this really bad E. coli virus eating my spine. Anyway, she came in the room and she said, we're going to beat this. And when she kind of came in with that, like, over the top of like, okay, it's on. It's obviously on. I'm not going to roll myself over there to the garage after all this and dump myself off. I'm going to start building back, and I got a lot to build back, and I don't have much to do it with. So I just took one step at a time, and I said, you know what? And then it turned into that mindset that you were talking about, like, hey, it's time to scrap. Now I got an arm back in the fight, and now I got
Mhm.
2 fake legs back in the fight. Now I got a fake arm in the fight, and I'm up there with Carson and Joe, and I'm weaponizing all this. And I don't mean like weaponizing like I don't know, blade or something. I mean like weaponizing your direction. Get more
Right.
done. Live more life. Be wealthy in what you want to be wealthy in, and that is what I'm arming myself.
Yeah,
That's
I think I think that's and that's one thing I want to talk about because I think that's an important aspect of people are still human, but I'll tell you once the warrior spirit steps in, it
oh
is
yeah,
really hard to put the brakes on. You know what I mean?
oh
It
yeah,
doesn't mean there's not going to be hiccups because there are, but once it goes, and we saw that in you right out of the gate, we were like, we were super stoked that you were coming in anyway. And I'm going to tell you, you can't be, uh, you can't. Joe Blade's coming. He's going this way. um, you can't be in this in a better place with men like Carson and Joe,
oh for sure.
even Matthew over there. I mean, these guys are going to push you and support you all in the same time, man. It's you're like part of that family over there now, and so it's. I heard that. Did you get on the ground or something a little bit? Did you work a little bit ground with Carson one day?
Yeah. I've been working ground stuff with Carson, and it's crazy that ground stuff for dudes with no legs is going to open up so much windows, not just choking folks out and stuff, but like you start moving around like that. I'm moving differently when I'm playing with my kid on the ground or chasing the dog around. And and I got a puppy right now, but we'll talk about that later. But the movements and the techniques of the ground game that I've gotten to tighten up a little bit with have opened up so many safer avenues for me to shower and take care of myself and get myself put together and change clothes in the car. Like a lot of things that I couldn't do prior to this because I hadn't been working those movements are now coming into play. So that's what I think is kind of special about where we're at right now in the recovery.
Yeah, I think that that's such a thing. So you got to meet another ranger. You got Sergio came down, right? And you got to get on the ground with him a little bit, right?
Oh yeah, he was
Yeah.
trying to show off his 6-pack and all this
Yeah,
stuff. And I
this
said, "Come on,
freaking
big boy. Come on, big boy."
is yeah. He, he still has his physique and he'll down beer like nobody's business, right? I'm
I
like,
know it. I know it. It doesn't count. It's okay.
it's I told him you're just a different, know,
Yeah. Yeah. He's out there in your backyard right
to
now
see the
protecting and serving, I think.
yeah, he is. He is. I'm gonna go do a ride along with him pretty soon here coming up. And he took Carson with him last time he was here. But when Carson goes in, everybody's super nice because you know how he is. He's just like that. I said, well, when I ride, it's gonna be a different, it's gonna be a different cut because I'm sure something's gonna come down the pike when we're together. So
I
it's
like
good.
that.
So it's good that you got to it's amazing anyway. You see amputees compete in jujitsu all the time.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing what you can do on the ground. You know why? I tell everybody the ground equalizer because you don't worry about balance and stuff so much when you're on the
Sure.
ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So
allowed you kind
it
of freeze up my most like kind of lethal or most effective techniques are going to be some of those from the ground because if he gets to going, I'm pulling that guy down with me and we're going to go at it on the ground.
Yeah, and which I think is great. What I think you should do is if you got those little pinchers or whatever you got on your arm, you got to
Yeah,
do that to Joe's groin. That's what I want to see
that's what
for
I'll be
that.
practicing this afternoon when I get in there with him. I'll let him know.
Yeah,
Hey,
that'd be
this came down
awesome.
from Grandmaster, man. I don't have anything to do with the pipeline today, dude. Get on over here.
Yeah, that's what I can't wait for that. So it's that's good. So let's I can't wait because when I come down, I'm gonna be there in May. I'll be there for a few days, dude. So we'll be able to tear up on the mat a little bit. We'll see where you're at on down there on the ground. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Um
fun.
Listen to Joe. It won't open wide enough. Joe's in a fantasy world of what he's yeah. Joe's in fantasy world of what he thinks he's got down there.
Oh boy.
So just so typical of that's I miss that. I'd be doing this stuff all day, every day over there, man. It's so fun when I come down. But I'll look forward to getting on the ground with you a little bit and see how that's going.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast.
And see how you're doing. So let's talk about some of the other stuff now. Well, first of all, before we get to their kind of these other groups that you do, these veteran groups, let's talk about the PTSD. I mean, do you have that? Do you have any panic attacks, and are you still having any? Do you get any flashbacks, or are you past that point, or are you ever past that point?
I don't know. I think that's a good question. I think I don't know if I'm trying to land in any one of those areas. I know that. I mean, if you go through some stuff, you're going to have some stains from it. That's just part of it, whether they're mental or whether they're physical. If we're talking about actual diagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder, I luckily don't have a lot of that chasing me around. I luckily live a pretty clean. I don't have nightmares. I don't, have wicked thoughts or racing anxiety or anything of that nature. Now, I have been through some of that for sure. When I first woke up in the hospital and I was like wrapping my head around all this, I did go through quite a bit of that. But it, I loved what I was doing. I was not scared. I mean, you're always going to be a little bit. Fear is a good thing to have as leverage, but it's not. I wasn't controlled by my fear. I was out there doing something I loved. And when I was laying there bleeding out on the gurney, that looking up, it was just the coolest picture you'd ever seen. It was all my homies just laying hate to the enemy and helicopters flying in and stuff blowing up and my buddies giving me blood. It was really, as crazy and as awful as it sounds, it was really a pretty epic portrait for me to look at all night. So it's not something I like look back on and think, oh my God. So that post-traumatic stress, I don't even like calling it disorder. I think post-traumatic stress, yes, but I don't like that slippery slope of anything that starts with dis is just kind of not cool.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's good to know. I think that. Well, what do you think? The more physical you get, how much better is that with your mindset? The more physical you're getting.
So good. I think I told you this when we were actually meeting for the first time. Just to get out there and throw a punch, and just to get out there and put some combos together to give my family a shot. We're walking down the road together, and somebody wanted to get squirrely with my family. That's a two-way street in my book, and I can't lose enough limbs to not think that way. I'm going to do whatever I can, whenever I can, to protect those that I can, and I'm going to put tools together to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a great mindset. So let's talk about a couple of the other things that, now we're, I guess what we would say, you're still in recovery now. You're starting to find some stuff. Now we've got the martial arts. You're a little bit of Krav Maga. You've got some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now, and we've got Vega working on stuff to kind of help you with stability and make you be able to be even more mobile, or what that looks like.
Absolutely.
For yourself, right?
Yeah, just to put Pooler Karate on the map for a minute, like we sent the videos of what we were doing and our direction with where we were going. And this is through, obviously through Carson and Joe and Kelly and Millie, and like everybody kind of helped out. And Matthew, everybody kind of helped out creating these videos and sending to the surgeon. And I'm not going to go name drop or anything, but the surgeon in the system, the guy that is in charge of the guys, that dude who knows all the stuff, looked at our stuff and was like, this is amazing. I would prescribe this to all of my amputees if they could handle it.
Wow, that's major. Yeah, so I hadn't heard about it. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that. I know that we spoke about that because I told him, I thought that even the video of you lifting the other day on the Rogue machine and stuff like that, I told them, I said, you need to send these videos off to Rogue and show what their products can do, what they can do. And then, yeah, they had spoke to me that they're going to look at that. And so to hear that that's gone to the next level has been,
That's amazing. And everyone's got their piece. Carson's like facilitating, and Joe's over there just driving it home, and Kelly's over there making sure we don't like do anything way too crazy. There's always good to have one of those people in the room, So it's just been a really, really awesome, big effort. And they really kind of, you spoke on this a little bit earlier, talking about lifestyle. The hunting lifestyle, their lifestyle up there is a lifestyle. They were out here teaching some pilots how to bang people up. All of them came over to the house, checked on Asia, helped me fix my prosthetics, because prosthetics, they always have like a screw loose. There's always something that needs to be turned. There's always something that needs to be done. And sometimes when I'm running a gun and I'm being dad and husband, I can fall behind on some of that stuff. Joe and Carson over here the other day, taking my arm apart, putting a new elbow on it. We smashed it doing break falls. Like isn't that crazy? Like the things that I call, Walter Reed about, like, they're like, how did you possibly do this? I'm like, well, I was hitting a bag with it. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. What do you mean? What? So it is just like to have good enough people like that I can invite into my circle. And pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's the Joe wrote down, and he says he will walk. Joe just put that out there.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, Joe wants that as bad as you do. I know how he thinks, and that's going to be. That's I'd like to hear that. Now I think that, did Joe tell me the other day, because you working out like you are, something like the prosthetic ain't fitting quite as good now, because
we showed up. I don't know if they thought I was like a little overweight, but it was just like suck fest, and I lost like 15 pounds in 3 weeks. So I got like loose nubs and stuff. I'm like, hey man, this is kind of weird. And they're like, when's the last time you weighed yourself? And I'm like, well, it's been a while. So Carson got me a scale up there that I can just roll my chair up on, and Joe helps me stand on it. Yeah, we're 15 pounds down. So I mean, like, I got to get back up, and every time you lose some weight like that, you got to go get refit for your prosthetics and stuff like that. So it'll constantly be like that until we're, sitting around drinking beer, training the next guy up.
That's right. He had told me about that there's these little things that come up that you probably don't even think about is what's going to help facilitate for the next person or the next person or the next person.
Yeah.
I really feel that. I think, Ryan, that you've got, even how you speak and stuff, listening to you today, I think probably booking you somewhere, and I think some speaking that is going to change direction in lives, and that school being able to be part of it, and us get to walk in those shoes with you is just I think it just gives everybody purpose, to be honest with you, bro. You're amongst a lot of guys that are warrior mindseted, and as you get older and you can't do as much stuff, and you feel like you're losing purpose, and then all of a sudden something like this comes around, and it just kind of ignites, hey, this is where we can go next. You know what I mean? So it's been great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about the other one. So I saw you out. I talked to you the other day, and you said, hey, I'm just getting off a boat or something like that. You were texting me back and said, hey, I'm getting off a boat. And I'm like, and I had read something where you're going out. So let's talk about what you're doing with that and what that nonprofit is all about. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. The nonprofit it kind of falls under American Fishing Charters, which is Captain Jimmy Armel's operation here at Bull River in Savannah. And I know a lot of fishermen. My dad's a fisherman. My grandfather's a fisherman. I've been around fishermen my whole life. They are all very similar, and most of them are totally full of shit. But Jimmy is really, really good. And he and I actually met. He started keeping in contact as the recovery was like in the hospital phase still, because it was it hit home here in Savannah. There's a lot of Rangers that stuck around like Jimmy after they did their time here. So he's been constantly keeping up with me. And when I got back in town, he said, "Hey, man, I got this nonprofit called Not Lucky, and we take vets that are having a hard time out on the water. Let them get some therapy time with the bros, catch some fish, see if it's something that, gives an opportunity to open up to Jimmy or talk to one of the deckhands." And as it was just him and I fishing, I thought, this is really great, Jimmy. I feel equal in the sense of mobility on the water. And what I mean by that is it's not something I have to try twice as hard for to keep up with a normal able-bodied person. Because when you're on a 30-footer with twin 300s on the back doing 40 miles an hour, doesn't matter if you have legs or not. You know what I mean? and we've finagled straps, and we've been bringing big fish in, and we're doing this cool stuff, and we're getting along really well, and we're bouncing good, positive ideas off each other. And he's kind of invited me in to kind of help him out on the boat whenever he's running charters. So American Fishing Charters this spring is going to take me on as a boat driving deckhand that most people on the dock call me Handy because they're all a bunch of weirdos, but it's going to be pretty cool. That's right there out there on the water. My wife and son are both water people. And I think that it's a great place to start back up again here in Savannah.
Yeah. So that's great. And so that's going to happen in Savannah. Where is this an ocean deal? Is that what this is?
Yeah. So the Savannah River runs east, probably 6 miles or so. And then you're in the great Atlantic Ocean. You kind of pass back out of the Sound. You got Hilton Head up to the north and Jekyll Island and stuff down to the south. And Savannah has this nice stretch called Tybee Island, which is like its coastal shores. It's got a lot of intercoastal waterways, and its inshore fishing is great. Its offshore fishing is great. Its nearshore fishing is great. So it's a pretty cool place. We've developed a lot of friends here. The Carsons and the Joes and yourself. Like, we've been in this neighborhood long enough to bump into people that we want to bump into. And I think we're going to stick around here and make a homestead.
Yeah, that's great. Now, listen, I love it out there. I love Savannah. I love that whole, I like being down there when I'm there. It's a way different life than California. Not to mention, you feel like you're free out there. Unlike here. I tell everybody, I said, listen, let me just give you the real difference of when I'm living in Georgia and when I'm here at home. Now, I'm one of these rare guys in California that have a concealed carry permit.
That is rare.
Super rare. And so but I said, when I go out there, I had Carson's truck last time. Somebody else was using my car out there. But I said, I had Carson's truck. And here's the real difference of it. Head is an AR in the truck. I said, you would not even be able to carry that gun in California because it wouldn't be compliant at all. So I said, so when you're driving around and it's just a normal thing to have an AR or whatever strapped to the top of the truck bed and, above your head. And I'm just like, yeah, this is just a different life. I enjoy the long drives on those highways and I don't, there's so much traffic. Well, Pooler sucks, but Pooler's like being in California. I can tell you that.
I agree. That 4 mile stretch over there is just
it's brutal.
It's crazy crowded.
Now, does it launch from River Street or not?
Yeah, so you could launch from River Street if you wanted to. We go a little bit further into the inshore deep water access point, and Savannah Boathouse is actually right on Bull River, and that's where Jimmy's boat is. Jimmy's a professional fisherman in the area, and he's got the nicest boat around, and everybody knows him. So it's a great fit for us right there.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. When I come out in May, I'll run down there and take a look at that. I'm always kind of looking to go take a look at some new stuff out there because I love River Street.
Absolutely,
anyway.
Man.
And,
you let us know when we're coming, and Jimmy will 100% get you out on that boat.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Now, are these kind of like day trips that you're doing, or?
Yeah, so he runs charters, mostly 6 and 8 hour charters. He does offer some longer stuff if you wanted to go further offshore, or some shorter stuff if you just wanted to make a half day out of it. But The way that he's designed it is kind of based on the species and where you're going to go find them and how much time you want to spend on the boat.
That sounds great. Now, so when you go out, what's mostly you're fishing for when you guys are going out? Is there certain things? I mean, what's out there in Savannah that you guys are going out after?
Well, I told Jimmy the last time we went out, I said, I want to go catch sheep's head. I've never really gotten into that, which is this weird, strange looking fish. It's kind of a fun looking fish. It's got black and white stripes and it has like 50 teeth and they're all like crazy, like brown, yellow, flat teeth. Looks like the janitor from like elementary school's teeth, that guy. It looks like a mouthful of them. But it's a fun fish to fight. You catch little 8-pounders all day long, and they give you a lot of grief. The last time we went out, that's what we actually ended up catching. But we've been spending most of our time just training up and learning how the reef system works in general. We catch a lot of reds out there. Jimmy can catch pretty much anything that he wants to. Sea bass are obviously everywhere, which is one of my favorite fish to eat. You can just throw a hook with nothing on it and catch one of those things.
That's awesome. So yeah. Are you out on a daily basis, or is this a weekend business, or what's he have?
Right now we're kind of limited to weather. I think we'll be out on a daily basis when the weather breaks free more often, and you can start putting people on charters every day. As of right now, a lot of people, the sea's a rough place. It was one reason I kind of enjoy it, is because I respect it so much, because the sea will just crush you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whether you're in it drowning or whether you're in a boat trying to live through it, like whatever it may be, it can always crush you. That's one reason I always have so much respect for it. Those are fewer and further in between those moments as the season gets nicer. So as spring kind of breaks into summer and that lasting long into summer into fall, that's going to be a really great time to get out there on the water, because it's nice and flat. If you have any issues with motion sickness or seasick, you don't have to worry about anything. It's really, really going to be a cool year.
Yeah, that's good. That's going to be fun. Now, did you have to go to any schooling for this, or was
this
something
so I've started up. Yeah, Jimmy's gonna kind of guide me into my captain's license over time, and eventually I'll kind of put my own boat on the water that has less specifics involved with the charters. Probably more like dropping people at the sandbar, or going to the tiki hut, or doing something like that. But the water is somewhere that I definitely want to fulfill a occupation.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And now, say the name of that one more time, what it's called.
Yeah, American Fishing Charters.
Okay, so let's put that out there. American.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jimmy has a nonprofit called Not Lucky, spelled KNOT, and he dedicates his funds from his fishing charter to Not Lucky, which is getting veterans out on the water. We have, in just the short time that I've worked with Jimmy, I have seen 25 veterans reach out to Jimmy saying, in anything from, hey man, I need a 4-day trip. All I want to do is fish and not think about anything. And hey man, I need a 4-hour ride where I need to clear my head and get some stuff off my chest. So the capacity to help is so large for Jimmy's footprint out there, and he's doing such a good job of it. I know that when I got on that boat, I was like, I gotta, this is my spot for sure. I got to figure out how to do this. And Jimmy has allowed me and kind of given me the training I need to know my way around the water right now, as well as give me the direction for growing that footprint in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, I'll tell you this, being around Carson Fortner and nonprofits, you're not going to find a better guy that can make things happen.
I'm always on him about asking him the question of how I got into this, or, hey man, is this for real? I got to do this just because I'm trying to help people, and he's the one who really has that hands-on experience of somebody that has done it and made it at that level.
Yeah.
And him and Millie both, I'm constantly trying to do what I can for special kicks. I want to be a stronger player in that game. I'm just trying to even out some more time in life so I have more efficiency to provide to that stuff.
Yeah, we could definitely see you as part of that. I could definitely see in the future something along the lines of what he does with that wild dinner. You haven't got to experience that yet, right?
Not yet,
Yeah,
not yet.
I haven't experienced it yet either. He gets on my case every time. I personally don't like traveling around Christmas time, but man, he's
Yeah.
really pushing me to get out there this time, and so I may not have a choice but to come out there on this go around. So I might be at that wild game, but I can see something coming from that for sure. And that doesn't mean we can't help with that out here, this nonprofit. And if that's something that you're involved in, when I start talking to Viverka and a couple of the other combat vets out here, we'll put you in contact with another ranger named Z. He's not an amputee, but he took a shot to his. He's still got shrapnel from there in himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just a no nonsense warrior.
Awesome.
We've got some really good dudes out here that we'll make sure you connect with and
yeah, absolutely. That connecting people like you do, connecting people like Carson does and Jimmy does, those play bigger from the side of somebody in the recovery than I think the people applying those common sense strategies even realize. Dude that I wouldn't trust with a potato gun, I'm in the waiting room with, and I'm like, he's a triple too. He's got a butt and he's only missing his hand, but he's a really like upbeat dude. And I'm like, yo, bro, how do you not die in the shower? Like, it's the most dangerous. I went from like killing bad guys on the battlefield to trying to not slip off the shower bench. Like, how do you do it? And the dude's like, why don't you just shower on the floor, bro? And I'm like, well, how did I not think of that? How have I been like diagnosing like near death situations and taking like risk management procedures in the bathroom? Now this dude just hits me with that, and I'm like, well,
isn't that just that's amazing. I look forward to being kind of part of this and a part of your recovery and stuff like that. I wish I was just in there. I wish I was in the fight with you every day. How often are you able to get to the school? I mean, how often do you get to go up there and work out?
Let's see, from roughly 6 weeks ago when we kind of turned it up, we were in there about 4 times a week is what we were in there. We were looking like Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, and then like a Thursday and Friday, or take Wednesday, take off Friday. But we have been kind of going back and forth with that now, with Asia being kind of down with her burns on her legs, and I'm covering down on some of Knox's stuff. So Asia and I have done this really cool transition effect. Oh God, here we go, Joe. Joe's already started on
it. Yeah, he says not enough. That's how often you're coming in.
I'm going to tell him that I'm going to call the Pooler Police Department and tell them there's an active shooter at Pooler Karate real quick. We'll get him out of
there. Got to be careful because Joe might be able to light them all up. So I'll tell you a story about that active shooter in just a second.
That might be the last person I want to send the cops to.
Golly.
Anyway,
I'm like,
the last week we've only had a chance to work out once. I think this week we'll get a couple more in. I think next week we'll be back to our 4 days a week.
Okay, that's good. That's
good. And I'm like when I tell you that I've really leaned on them for the recovery, I mean, I've tied surgeons, I've tied physical therapists, occupational therapists. Everybody's tied into what's going on over there, and everybody's cool with it. So
yeah,
it's that, it's not just the fact that I do love punching people, but it's the fact that I do get better every day in there, and not just better at punching people, better at life.
Yeah. That's so good to hear. Yeah. That's so, that was so, yeah, that's, people don't really realize that. I mean, we feel that way every day we get to go in there. You know, the reason most of us have a school is because we're comfortable being there. And, if I had to live life and work out, I don't know if I could do them both. So, it's just better to have one. So I'm always there. And, it does give a sense of purpose. And one of the reasons I wanted this podcast is to listen to what the martial arts have done for you, what this is, because people get so complacent and lazy in their daily life, and oh, it's boring, or oh, it's this and that, and I'm like, you've got people out there struggling, okay, to get in a car, and when you see these special kicks and these kids, I'm like, how do you even have an excuse? Just shut the frick up, man. You know what I mean?
I
I'm just
agree.
like, you
I
know,
agree, man.
just shut up and train. Just be quiet and enjoy the
Yeah,
process that you have everything working. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
for sure.
you know, I'm not. I remember when I had my knee replacement. That's why you see me limp every once in a while, because I didn't do another one, because I'm like, I'm not doing another year recovery and I can't work out like
No
I
way.
want to. And so they wanted me to do another one on my right. I did it on my left, and I remember when I had it, I was like, man, it's taken forever. And I didn't really think that I'd ever grapple. I really didn't, because I had a hard time kneeling. Uh, you know, see, you're one up because you don't have to worry about it, because you don't have a knee to worry about. So
That's what I'm
it's
saying. My back has
so
never felt better. I tell people that all the time. They're like, I'm like, when I had legs, dude, my back hurt all the time.
that's you got to laugh, because you can't, if you
Dude, you
can't, man,
can.
you
There's a
can't.
little silver lining, little bit of it.
Oh, look at Joe. Carson's making me go and do my job.
Okay.
That's too bad, Joe.
Oh boy.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, so I think that I remember that even in my process, I'm like, man, how am I ever going to do this? Because they take the ligaments out, and it doesn't.
Sure.
And then
Sure.
Sergio comes around,
Yeah.
and I think it's like what you're talking about. Pooler Karate's kind of stepped into this thing. When Sergio came around, and I had a meeting with him, and I was like, wow, can I do this? And then he starts showing me other things, as I was like, man, this is what it's about. A coach and a warrior on top of it has that warrior mindset,
Absolutely.
and when you get those people that gel with you and that are in that, man, the things that you can take to the next level are awesome. And so I've been watching your progress over, just kind of over Facebook. And I mean, you got a nice $10,000, $15,000 gym that you get to work out, that Joe spent all of Carson's money on. So, that was going to be
yes,
that,
that is accurate. And you can
so,
fall down anywhere you want to, and it's all
that's
padded.
right.
So
That's right. It's that was Joe's big expansion, is going to make a lot of money. And I think it was just his personal gym is what he invested in. And so so it was great to see you guys out there in that I see that you're lifting there. And so you see even Carson said that's true. I think that when you are, where is your mindset now? I mean, what made you come to the studio? We'll kind of end with this. How did you hear about Pooler, Karate and Krav?
Yeah,
Who
no
did it?
problem.
What happened?
Well, there's a young man named Liam in the Special Kicks program out there with Lily, and they guided me. Hey, if Liam would really like if you came and saw the gym one day, saw how he works out, because we always kind of hang out at church and we always playing around, and he's good friends with Doc, so we're always kind of bouncing off of him. They're like, yeah, you should go check out Pooler Karate, and I'm thinking to myself like, Pooler Karate. Is it going to be a bunch of 6-year-olds like whacking me in the head with pool noodles, or is it going to be like, what are we going to be, what's it going to look like in there? And I go in there, and the first thing that I see is Carson. He's standing there next to Joe, and behind him there's this picture of a ranger behind a rifle, and there's a 160th flag, and there's a flag with a blue line on it. And I'm like, well, so far this place passes the vibe check, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I'm in there and I'm looking at Liam, and Joe comes over and kind of expresses, hey man, we could really work together. We were kind of Rangers at the same time, even though his career was a little bit prior to my career. So when I got in there and Carson and Joe were like, you want to work? And I'm like, let's do it. And I basically just freed it up to them to see what they would do, not knowing if these dudes were going to hang me upside down and beat me with sticks. Like I had no clue what was going to go down. But between the two of them, they were like, this is going to be really cool. And that, I'm not going to lie, I didn't have much to work with back then. I wasn't standing up. I was kind of chair stuck. I wasn't on the ground moving around. So we had to take some serious baby steps. But once they started to compile those baby steps, I knew that this place was 100% going to be the place for me to transition my entire recovery kind of through.
Yeah, wow, well, that's a great testament. That doesn't surprise me at all with that, and I'm sure that they're making it up as they go too. Okay, what's working and what's not working. I
Yeah.
think Vegas was a major player in that too, and
Yeah.
not that we won't hang you up and hit you with poodle noodles because that does sound fun.
Does sound kind of cool too, doesn't it? At the same time.
But I think that seeing where that progress and then us continuing this kind of this video library of what you're doing, who knows what that's going to open up for vets now coming around. I mean, because part of it, right? Is,
I hope it does. If they see my humility out there sweating on the mat and they think, all right, if this dude's, getting up to the plate, why not? I'm totally cool with that. You know what I mean? I have no problem living. And if it involves somebody that needs some inspiration or just seeing a video of me and you out there hitting stuff,
right?
That if that's all we got to do, that's a pretty easy day for me and you.
Yeah, that's right. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can. I still feel that you're in the infant stages of what you're going to bring to the table, Ryan. Just your the demeanor, the real talk that you have, the demeanor you have. Then you're right, because it's hard enough for an adult to come into a martial arts school to even do martial arts. You know what I mean? They've always got disposed thing, what's going to happen there, or I'm going to be embarrassed and stuff like that. And it takes a certain amount of humility to be able to be vulnerable, to learn how to do things. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest. Listen, let me tell you something. Because I know everybody talks about, you hear it, oh, Grandmaster Cox. And I told them all the time, I said, man, I hate that title. And I said, you call me that. I'm a high rank in one system. And I'm getting tapped out by, the same day. You know what I mean? I said, it's such a, if you don't have that spirit of humility, you can never grow. And because I know a lot of people in my rankings, in my position, that they just, they hover, they kind of look at themselves as I'm here, you're here. And, I've achieved this rank, and I've just never been like that. So I appreciate when you say, if they see me having the humility in doing that's going to help. And we're looking forward to being in that journey, man. And, we're going to talk too about this nonprofit. We're going to see what we can do on this end. I'm going to talk. Vaverka is probably listening to this podcast. He listens to most all of mine anyway. And we're going to see what we do on the West Coast to help the East Coast. That's exactly what's going to happen, because, we'll get behind this for sure. So
yeah, absolutely.
See what we can do. But yeah, I'm going to come out to where I'll come out to where that boat is next time I'm in town. I'm going to be there for a little bit too. I'm there even past the weekend, I think. I'm coming in for the black belt test, and I got a seminar or so, but I think I'm staying till the Monday. So I'll have that kind of that weekend free, and
absolutely. Let me get those dates. I'll either get them from Carson or let me know them when you definitively find them out, and I'll get it set up good, man.
So yeah, that sounds fun. All right, man. Well, it looks like we hit that hour mark, man. I could have sat and we could have chewed some dirt. I told you before, I think I'm really considering doing another podcasting now that's not just real talk. That I'm probably going to call it Beyond the Mat, because that's the book I'm writing. I really think you should think about that. Yeah, so Vaverka is on here right there. He says, yes, sir, you bet. So if you don't, hey, John, while you're on here, this is Ryan. I'll send you info. You make sure you two connect. You're going to you'll like Vaverka. He's a good dude.
Absolutely.
He just went through something real major himself on a ventilator and stuff. And, we're out. This is just recently. And so if you go back to my thing, go listen to John Vaverka's last one. I've done 2 with him already, but the last one, he talks about what he just went through. And you guys will be hitting it off. And I'm sure once we introduce Z to you, yeah, if you ever come down here, we got to make sure, Z may not be the best company when you're married. So, uh, but we've got some stuff, so we'll continue that, and I look forward to that journey. You'll get to meet John in November when we come out. He's bringing his wife anyway,
Yeah.
and yeah, John says, Roger that. I got your 6. All right. So it sounds good, man. Well, I'm gonna let you go, and so you can go get the rest of your day. This will be, guys. If you've not been on here, if you guys want to support, it says buymeacoffee.com at Mark Cox Podcast. If you want to do some supporting, we're going to get some new equipment in, and I'll be down there in May. This will be on audio format. Ryan, by the end of the day, I'll have an audio format. I'll send you links. You can start sending these off to your friends and your family and stuff like that. It'll be on an audio format. The video is always available online like it is, but I started off in audio podcasting because, I'd listen to a lot of them when I'm traveling and when I'm doing it. And I'm going to push, Ryan, I'm going to see, Jocko has reached out to me once before when I asked for some books.
Sure.
I think that you would be an awesome guest on Jocko Willink's podcast.
But you make sure and send it myself. I have watched a lot of his stuff in the past. Motivating dude, good, strong American. You let him know if he wants to sit down and hash some stuff out. I'm all in.
Yeah. I'm gonna work on that on my end and see what we can do with that, because he's going to be very in tune to listening. He's a jiu-jitsu freak, right?
Yeah,
And
I've heard this.
And how awesome would it to get you fly out here and be able to do that with him and get on the mat with Jocko, and stuff like that. I think you have a worse story there. So I'm going to work on my side, because I really feel that you are super fit for him in this, especially because it's kind of new, and in his leadership and stuff like that. I think that would be an awesome thing. So I'm going to work on that on my end to see if it's not like I know him. I wish I could just call him on the phone and say, Jocko, get Ryan down here. But that's not quite where I'm at with him yet. So we'll see what I can do on that end and see what we can do. All right.
Sounds awesome, brother.
All right, man. All right, bro. I'll be seeing you here soon, man. All right.
Till next time. Always good.
All right. All right. We'll see you, sir.